Welcome to I'm Going In, the newest and hottest podcast sharing incredible stories of strength, resilience, and love. This podcast is about that moment when you face trauma or been knocked down and you decide, I'm going in. Whether it's to help yourself stand back up, to strengthen your faith, or to support others, this is where inspiration begins. Like and subscribe to my social channels and get ready to be uplifted as I introduce our next incredible guest on I'm Going In. Hey, welcome back to I'm Going In. I'm your host, Todd Blyleven, and this is a show where we talk about really cool stories, adversity, strength, uplifting stories from individuals like who I'm going to bring on right now that's joining us, Zac Yarbrough from Florida. But it's all about the moment when we decide as individuals, after being knocked down or getting challenged with adversity, where we decide I'm going in. I'm going in to help others. I'm going in to help myself. I'm going in for my faith. I'm going in to help others achieve their own success. And what I'm about to kind of unleash here with bringing Zac on is a true example of a guy that is taking every single advantage of what life has to bring, and he is definitely going in. So, Zac, I'm just going to read your bio that you sent me last night because I was floored. I'm like, oh my God, this is like got to be one of the most amazing people on the planet. But Zac was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer at 38 years old. You've got a couple daughters. You were an All-American water polo player and a swimmer in high school. You ultimately decided to play college football, and you were a 3-year starter at the University of Virginia from 2000 2004. Your dad was one of the original Gatorade guys that basically Gatorade tested on when they were developing Gatorade. So I'm sure they were monitoring his pee a lot and trying to figure out his hydration. But what a cool story that is. And you can catch it on 30/30. But he ended up playing with the Detroit Lions. Your mom grew up. I thought this was really interesting. She was on the Dean Martin show for many years, which is pretty awesome. But here's where it really gets interesting. Once you decided at your moment that you were going in for yourself, you have had some incredible life adventures with, I mean, going like moose, bear, giant halibut fishing in Alaska, fishing. I mean, just the hunting stuff, skiing in Colorado, on a 12,000-foot mountain. I'm not even sure like where you have gone and what you're doing. And then you sent me something where you danced in the Super Bowl with New Kids on the Block, and then you're in a snowmobile in Colorado and just crazy stuff. So Zac, welcome to I'm Going In. I can't wait to share the story, brother.
Todd, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Just it's all about going in life, as you say, taking advantage of every single day. And just appreciate you having me on here and looking forward to, sharing my story.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, obviously collegiate athlete, I can relate to that. Playing sports and growing up with a dad that was a sports figure in your life. I mean, I can relate to that as well. My dad played for 23 years, and growing up in that probably tough mentality of life, no blood, no foul, get up, ignore your pain, don't really maybe talk about your inner thoughts, your inner feelings, right? And you're a football guy. I mean, first you're a water polo guy. I don't think people realize how tough water polo really is.
Yeah,
Um,
I was fortunate to grow up, an athlete, just kind of playing all sports, like you said. And,
yeah,
I think that was a big thing in, just developing personal character and, kind of accountability and, structure in life. And,
yeah,
you have the opportunity to play alongside a lot of different people, meet a lot of different people through life. And, was just very fortunate, with my career.
yeah. So you go to Virginia. Would you that transition of life? Probably things are moving forward and everything. And then talk about uh the cancer part. I mean, this is a hot topic, in terms of most of the time when you think about breast cancer, um, you think women, right?
Right.
You don't think about men. Like I don't think about myself ever getting breast cancer. I mean, how did that come about? What were the symptoms? And what were you feeling when the doctor told you, "Hey, man, you got breast cancer"?
Yeah, it was kind of crazy all the way around. And something like, as a male, never really expected, and to be honest, really didn't have any knowledge about, going into it, and kind of why I'm at the stage I am now. Just from not doing early detection and staying on top of it. So it was about 5 years ago, actually, this month. I was swimming in the pool with my
Wow.
daughters, and I just happened to feel my left nipple, and there was a little knot under there. And again, not knowing anything about male breast cancer, or just assuming it was a little cyst or something like that. And with my busy lifestyle and schedule, I do a lot of traveling for tournaments and just exploring the world, living life.
Mm.
And 4 months go by, and I was keeping an eye on it, but kind of really not monitoring it. And then it rapidly grew to the size of a golf ball.
Wow.
And once it hit that stage, and I could tell my chest looked totally different, I knew I had to go in and get it checked. And I knew something wasn't right, but I had no thought about male breast cancer at all. I've never even heard of it before. And so I went into my normal practitioner doctor and had him take a look at it, and I could kind of see a concern in his eyes immediately. And we went across the street to the local hospital the next day, and did a mammogram and a biopsy, and then found out it was cancerous. And
Wow.
then 5 days later, I went in for a radical mastectomy in my left chest, where I had my left chest removed, and then 11 lymph nodes on my left side during that
Wow.
surgery. So it was kind of a whirlwind. Um, and it all happened very quickly once I was diagnosed. And, getting the news was definitely a shock. It was kind of one of those times where you sit back and, kind of wonder, kind of why me in this situation?
Yeah.
What, you know, what, what's my life going to be like going forward? Having two
Yeah.
young daughters, thinking about their lives, being around for them. It was a lot to grasp and take. And, very fortunate. I got a loving family and a lot of friends support around, and which helped out tremendously. And, growing up a former athlete too, we all get knocked down a lot in life.
Yeah.
Um, the adversity of sports. And my dad, being a former athlete, like you mentioned before, we kind of sat down and had a talk. And he was like, "Hey, just treat this like a normal injury. It's like you got injured during football. You got to have surgery in the off season, and then you got to do the rehab, to get better
Yep.
and get back on the playing field." And so once
Yeah.
I kind of approached it
Mm.
like that, it kind of opened my eyes, to a different approach. And, I've been very fortunate to do a lot of things in life. And for the first time, I really kind of felt like this was a calling for me.
Wow.
I can make a difference. Um, because if it can happen to me, it really can happen to anybody, any male out there. I'm a
Yeah.
former offensive lineman, 6'5", 300
Mm.
pounds, big beard, hunt, travel, fish, do all that kind of stuff. And, breast cancer, what? So
Yeah,
it was a real shock for sure.
I think that's the biggest like shocking part to this. When we were introduced through a mutual friend of ours, Devin Smeltzer, that is a left-handed pitcher, in Major League Baseball, and he is a cancer survivor at 9 years old, going through his story. And I had him on the show here, and listening to him talk about that experience of going through that, uh, the moment you find out, the shocking piece. I mean, he was a normal kid, right? Playing
Yeah.
baseball. And all of a sudden, he's got cancer, and then he's looking up to icons coming in and trying to pump him up. And your dad was that I love that message of treat this like it's just a normal injury. Try not to get too big into your mind, right?
Right.
As we do as an athlete, you try to just stay focused on the task at hand to get yourself back out on the field. And you were just trying to get yourself back out in life. But the stakes were a lot higher here. Like all of a sudden you get diagnosed, and with this whirlwind, you're going through surgery and having body parts removed, and um, your family and everything else. At what point did you ever experience kind of, talk about like trauma, right? And adversity that people deal with, whether it's a combat vet going through, post-combat fears, sitting in a hospital bed if they were injured or wounded, to the moment I had of silence, where after my experience in Las Vegas, and everything was so chaotic and all this crap just happened, there was a moment of silence where I got really scared in my life. And it sounds like that's kind of like maybe what you went through when that Allah moment happened, when you were really thinking about life itself. Can you explain kind of that moment of when that happened to you? Whether it was sitting in the hospital bed or wherever that was, and then talk more about the moment when you decided, you know what, let's go. I'm going in. I'm just going to freaking do this. And let's go from there.
Yeah, man, you just gave me chills thinking about it.
It's
Yeah, it
awesome.
was. Oh yeah. um, it was ironically the day I got diagnosed with cancer was Jimmy V week, and I was home
Wow.
alone, and I was sitting on the couch by myself, and just total silence, and just a lot of thinking of where my life's going to go, what's going to happen, just kind of just soak it all in. And I flipped on the TV to try to distract me, think about some other things. And not, I've heard the Jimmy V speech before, but I never really heard it or listened to it deeply. And I, ironically, it came on that night, and I was sitting on the couch, and I listened to that speech, and I heard every word he said. And that was the moment I knew I could really make a difference.
Wow.
I really knew I could charge life. I really knew I could help others. Um, it's tough, putting your whole story out there. Um, the good, the bad, the ugly. I
Yeah.
try to share it all. Um, and yeah, his speech, don't give up, don't ever give up. It's something I live by daily. And, a couple weeks later, I actually went and got it tattooed on my hand. I can send you a picture of,
Yeah.
that's just a daily reminder, to kind of look at it. And,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, it was a lot. Um,
In
but I
that,
knew that I had a choice.
yeah.
I'm I've luckily and thankfully, and these guys are amazing. I become friends with a big band these days called Stick Figure. And, a lot of their music, kind of has helped me through the tough times and stuff like that. And they got a song, it says the choice is yours, and I think the choice is always ours, what kind of day it's going to be.
That's right.
I mean, we're all facing adversity in life. We
Yep.
all go through struggles.
Yep.
I mean, one way or another, we're all going to be affected by cancer, whether it's
Mhm.
yourself, a family member, a friend,
Yeah.
we're all going to be affected. So really, that day, it was kind of the choice is mine. Am I going to be a victim of this, or am I going to be an advocate and go out there and help others change the world, get busy living life, going all in. And I've always been appreciative of life and enjoyed every little thing and just playing every sport and doing every kind of new activity there is to get out of the comfort zone and try new things and experience life. But, that really opened up my eyes to just the smaller things. A lot of times we sit around and we hear a lot of complaining about little things, and small things in life that really don't matter. And, you kind of try to let those things go and just soak in, the better things in life, just sunsets, sunrises,
Mm, yep.
just bluebird skies, rainy days, time with family, just the simple things in life. And so that's really kind of been my approach. And, just yeah, it was a lot. But,
Mm.
still fighting these days, and, I'm charging life. I've done more in these past 5 years um, than I think most people do in a lifetime. Just from these experiences, from moose and bear hunting in Alaska, giant halibut fishing,
Okay.
camping out there 10 days in the bush. Like, I mean,
So
it's
before we start getting into that, man, I can't wait to like hear all that stuff. Because I want to I want to know the mentality that you have when you're hunting a bear. But the it sounds like, I mean, just taking a step back, you had that moment of silence and you disrupted it yourself. You turn the TV on and there's Gary, right? And or Jimmy V, and talking about never giving up, and the relatability sometimes that we can, whether it's like a parent figure, a coach, a teacher, or somebody just trying to always rally you, you have to lean on that, right? The self
yeah,
perseverance, the resilience factor of it, the strength, the uplift, the for me, I always felt, I believe, I'm a big faith believer. I always envision this when following my dad when he was running, working out, and he was playing for the Angels, I think, at the time. I would be following him, and I'm like, Dad, like, when are we going to stop? And he'd always pass those signs on the side that says "No stopping here." I can still
hmm
remember him like vividly, and we're running through the hills, and he's like, "See that sign right there? No stopping. I can't stop. Like, if I stop, someone's going to take my job." But in life, when you're knocked down and you're faced with stuff, if you stop, you're done, right?
right,
So you get up and you don't stop. And then your buddies with stick figure and that song, like that's it so resonates with me personally. I can't wait to hear it, number one. So I encourage everyone to get out and listen to that song because it motivates you. Um, but that moment when you decided, okay, I'm embracing this. I'm not going to let it beat me. That's the sports mentality, right? The get up, the
yeah.
keep grinding. I'm going to do this. At some point, did you have friends that were there for you that came in and lifted you up as well? I mean, obviously, I don't think anyone can really ever do this by themselves, right? That you could really share your feelings, your raw emotions with, and then let's start getting into your adventures and what you're doing today.
Yeah, sounds great. I didn't want to be a burden to anybody.
Yeah,
Just when you get diagnosed, you didn't want. I never wanted to be that guy. Kind of. And my hardest part was really the unknown. Kind of those 4 months before I was diagnosed. Kind of knew something was going on, but really didn't
yeah,
want to address it and didn't know what I was facing. Um, and then once I got diagnosed, it was kind of that shocker. Just that first 30 minutes or so, just kind of reflecting on all the information I heard. And then the sports mentality kicked in, like you said. I was like, all right, now I know what I'm up against, what I'm competing against, who I'm fighting against. Let's go.
yeah.
And approached it from that day. And sorry, my earpieces keep falling out.
Oh, you're right.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I had to have that attitude. I mean, I've been doing chemo now for 5 years straight. which is crazy. I do it every 21 days. I've
Every
lost all my
21
hair.
days.
Yeah, I'm still doing it now every 21 days. So I got chemo this upcoming Wednesday, um,
Wow.
for another session. But then I'm flying out Friday, going out to Colorado skiing.
Unbelievable. Man.
So I mean, it's,
Yeah.
and the hard part is, you walk into those treatment centers and everybody is by themselves. It's a quiet, kind of a lone place. You can't have family members and friends come in there. And, I've had a lot of people ask if they wanted me to. And it's just one of those things, people shouldn't see if they don't have to,
Yeah.
and it's kind of that place where, you can kind of collaborate and talk, with other people going through their battles and kind of lean on each other, offering support, giving them support and getting that back from them. And, again, just very fortunate with, my family and friends coming out the gate. I was never embarrassed about being diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah.
Um, being a guy and stuff is just, it's an anomaly.
Yeah.
Being a guy diagnosed in his 30s is 1 in 100,000. The
Wow.
percentages are going up these days, so the more awareness. And that's kind of why I wanted to share my story and gone public with it and kind of my attitude. Um, just getting out, getting, just get out there, get busy living,
So I'm
appreciate every
hearing,
single day.
I'm hearing like, number one, I mean, it's you tried to almost kind of will that feeling away. Like, there's nothing going on here. I'm fine. I mean, we do it all the time, whether
Right.
it's I know with my shoulder or whatever that is, nah, I'll be fine. It's going to take care of itself. Almost like you're thinking you get these little micro people inside your body fixing whatever is going to be gone because you're Superman, right?
Right.
You're invincible. You're fine. And then all of a sudden now you're not. And so the constant struggle of lifting yourself up daily, the support you've had, which is so important. And I preach that message to everybody that when you have somebody that's knocked down in your life, to at least be there somehow, some way, whether it's a text, hey man, how you doing? What's going on? Talk to me. How are you feeling? Let's go grab a coffee. Whatever. Even if you're thousands of miles away, just that text sometimes can just know you just know, hey man, I'm not alone in this. I've got an army of people that are supporting me. I'm going to fight this to the end. And you definitely embrace that, which is, I think, like a totally uplifting story to it in itself and should be a positive message. But then you just touched on something that Devin touched on too a little bit in that chemo time when you've got to go in and you're surrounded by other people that maybe not might not have that same attitude that you have. I mean, you're like an infectious dude. So I'm sure people when they're looking at you coming in, they're like, okay, good. Like I've got some fight. Like, look at this guy. Do
Yeah.
you get that sense at all that you're uplifting people in that moment you're getting chemo and stuff too?
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah. I see that without a doubt. And that's kind
Yeah.
of why, keeps inspiring me to keep doing this,
Yeah.
and keep my attitude this way, because
Yeah.
it's sad. I mean, there's a lot of times in the treatment center where you see, people who've literally given up,
Wow.
I mean, it's just, I mean, just the mentality, everything that cancer, you fight against just, test you in so many different ways,
Yeah.
mentally, physically, spiritually, um, just all the way around. So, another thing, just, growing up my family, my dad, always says it's just so much easier in life to be nice.
Yeah.
Just one little thing can go a long way for someone. Just
Yeah.
like you said, just a little text, reaching out to somebody, whether it's, a person fighting cancer or just a person going through a personal struggle, whatever that may be in their life,
Yeah.
just opening a door for somebody, when they're walking in,
That's
to a
right.
store, I
Yeah.
mean, that could change their day, just saying good morning, stuff like that. So it's just, yeah, I mean, I've really had the opportunity to start loving life.
Yeah.
And, you know, I really started living, I feel like, yeah, when I was diagnosed, just kind of, whole change of attitude, mindset, or growth of attitude and mindset, and just trying to make this world a little happier and better place. And it's been tough a lot of times, with putting my story out there. Um, you know, I meet a lot of people, who are recently diagnosed with cancer or going through similar battles, and, providing, knowledge and strength for them, just kind of helping them any way they can, any way I can, through their battle, is just something I strive to do every day. And it's tough. You lose people, every month, people that I've become friends with. And, it's almost like every single day, you kind of hear, another friend's lost or another person's diagnosed, so unfortunately it's a horrible disease, but, there's a lot of great foundations out there that I started working with, to try to help build awareness and find that ultimate cure. And so, until that day happens, just keep busy, living and moving and going all in. So.
Well, what's been the most challenging part to you sharing your story? Um, I mean, and I say that because people sometimes, especially in our generation, in our culture, and it's getting better with our younger kids. I know that my kids, they're, my son's 20, my daughter's 17, my other daughter's 20, in her mid 20s. Um, they're a little bit more adapt to like sharing their feelings, right? They're a little bit more acceptable when someone wants to share their feelings and they're embracing that in their kind of generation. In our generation, that wasn't really accepted. People sharing their stories. And I know when I came out and shared my story of being hurt, my wife was like, oh my God, I'm getting so many calls from your friends asking, like, what is going on? What is Todd talking about? Why is he shedding a tear on social media? Why is he talking about love and all these things? And to
Right.
your point earlier, when you've truly been knocked down in your life and that defining moment when you embrace what life has to bring and you listen to Jimmy talk and you heard every word. You didn't just you heard it, but you really felt it, right? You could see the different colors in the sky. You could see the butterfly. Like those are all legitimate feelings that I felt as well. And I would say that we're two tough individuals that normally, like prior to getting knocked down, probably wouldn't have talked about that, right? To our buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you are, and you're sharing your raw emotions because like I always talk, first responders or whatever, or anyone that's dealt with trauma, adversity in their life, you've checked your tough box off. Like that's my big thing. You've already checked it. You don't have to talk. You don't have to be tough anymore. You could say whatever the hell you want because you've already experienced the toughest part that you're probably ever going to experience in your life. So, when sharing your story, what challenges are you feeling from people? Is it just people like that kind of back off, like, hey man, I don't want to hear uh, that's never going to happen to me? Is it stories that like people just can't figure out why you being so tough and everything are talking about lighthearted love and embracing life type conversations? Like, what's been your challenge in sharing your story?
Honestly, probably all the love and support I've received. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Mm.
it's it's tough. I like putting that message out there. Um, I've always been a person, I like helping others, but it's always been tough for me to receive help and love. Um, as weird and hard as weird, as that can be.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the times it's, tough, reading the messages, reading the text. Um, there's just been so much support, um, in so many ways from people. And just being known as being an inspiration to others is kind of tough to accept, you know. So thankfully, it seems like I've been able to, help out a lot of people, through some tough times, and they've helped me out. And I think that's something is just maturity over the years, being through all the hard times and struggles, from sports and just life and, all that kind of stuff. And just, getting older and having kids and just the maturity factor. And, I have nothing, I feel like I have nothing more to prove to anybody else,
Yeah,
I'm kind of, so, take it or leave it, kind of am who I am, and I think being vulnerable is a strength,
that's right.
which I've learned. Um, I'm not a big communicator. I'm trying to get a lot better at that. Just reaching
You're
out to
not a big
friends.
communicator?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I am in certain times, and then at
Yeah,
times, I need my alone time.
yeah, yeah.
And it's kind of where you
That's
sit
important
around
though.
and yeah. So, it's uh, it's an everyday battle, but just there's no stopping now,
There's no
and
stopping now.
no,
You've touched on this a couple times, man. Like just the storytelling of it. And we talk about I hear stories all the time and we talk about when you share your story, somebody is absorbing what you're throwing down. And maybe it's not 100% relatable, but maybe there's something that you talked about in that moment that is going to become their survival guide. That or maybe it's just the first chapter or the first sentence of their survival guide on how that starts. Maybe it's you've touched on something that helps them break their silence and stand back up for themselves and learn how to walk tall, right? And
right,
get that mentality of no stopping because like Devin mentioned in his story, and I thought this was really cool. Like when he was and for the listeners and people, I mean, Devin was diagnosed with cancer at 9 years old. And so he was a little baseball athlete. So they had baseball players coming in, like all the big leaguers. A lot of times, like my dad, probably your dad, would go into hospital wards and things like that as
yeah,
a professional athlete. And you go visit with mostly the children's wards that are like with sick children and whatnot. And so Devin would have these athletes coming in, and he would look up to them, but he thought that was so cool, but his true heroes, the people that he truly like wanted to be, were the survivors, right? The people that just made it. And he grabbed onto those stories. And like you're saying, you're just trying to share your story of survival and how you've been uplifted and your mentality on life and how you kicked its ass and everything else. And you're continuing to do that. And your mindset of no stopping here, like that's inspirational. That's motivational, right? To anybody that's been knocked down and no matter what your experience in life, because that's the mentality you have to have. You have to have that warrior mentality. Whether you're a warrior or not on the outside, you got to let that thing on the inside just roar and yell and scream and lift you up some way, somehow to get you out of that and clear your mind to where you can appreciate where you are today, regardless of whatever outcome it is. Right. And
right,
you've been touching on that. And it's every person that I've spoken to that's been knocked down, whether it was like Dave Sanderson that was on a plane on the Miracle of Hudson. He was one of the last guys to get out of the plane. When the plane crashed, he's jumping over the seat and he's helping people behind him unbuckle and get out of the plane. And he's sitting 36-degree water for like 11 minutes. And it took his body like 5 minutes to thaw and all these crazy stuff, right? But he kept fighting. Like he didn't stop. And when you stop and you're telling stories of like you're seeing some of the sadness of people giving up, they need to listen to you. They need to absorb that outward kind of strength that I think you and others have just been gifted to be able to provide. And it's really inspirational, man. I mean, you have a bigger purpose in this life than just going bear hunting, which now I want to talk about, by the way. I want to give you a moment. Um, but yeah, I think it's what I keep hearing is disrupt the silence. Don't stop. Love where you're at, right? Um, but so cool. So, all right. I want to hear a couple stories like bear hunting.
Oh
Why?
man.
What? Okay, it's a bear, and I've seen this stuff like sometimes the TikTok or whatever. You'll see people on trails and bears will be like following them and stuff, and I'm like, get the hell out of there! But you're actually going after a bear. So talk about some of these stories you've been on because you're like the most adventurous person I think I've met. So,
Oh man, I've been fortunate over, the past, you know, 5, 6 years to do a lot of just awesome things in life. And that attributed to all the amazing people, that I've met in life and supported me, and a lot of these people, their family or friends or I've met through cancer or fishing or something, and just been fortunate to have a lot of opportunities, to do a lot of cool things, over the past couple of years. So, yeah, I've been out to Alaska twice over the past couple of years. Did a 10-day bush trip, basically, where we fly out on a little float plane. They drop you off in the middle of the nowhere. You got your satellite phone, 40 pounds of equipment for the entire week, including all your food and stuff. And 10 days out, yeah, in the bush, setting up camp. We got a good moose one year and then got a nice black bear another year. Saw some
wow,
good grizzlies. Um, yeah, went out, caught a 145-pound halibut. Uh, which is the size of a barn door.
145-pound halibut. What did you catch it with?
Oh, it was on a salmon belly. So just, on the bottom and about 200 feet of water. I got it all on video, which is pretty cool. I need to start sharing a little more of that, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was one hell of a fight and just a great experience. And actually, my buddy Captain Scott out there, who invited me to come out, lost his father many years ago to cancer, and so
Wow.
that's kind of how we connected through the fishing industry. And he gave me the opportunity to come out there, and we've been friends ever since. So
That's so
just a great
cool.
experience. And yeah, I'm one of those people. If I get an opportunity to do something in life, I want to do it. There's always an
Yeah.
excuse not to do something. And
Yeah.
so, I kind of why I still physically can um, right now and have the strength and the ability. I'm gonna charge as hard as I can. And
Yeah.
so, been fortunate. Been doing a lot of fishing trips, tournaments. Just got back from Costa Rica a couple weeks ago from a billfish tournament. I actually this year
Wow.
we were fishing the White Marlin Open, which is the Super Bowl of sport fishing. We were all in across the board, which means we had the max bet in there, so our potential payout was huge. So it's a 5-day fishing tournament. You fish 3 days. Going into the last day, nobody's weighed a marlin yet. So the potential for us catching the winning marlin would pay out around $8.5 million, maybe closer to 9.5.
Holy
And so,
cow.
right. And so
Wow.
we're on the boat that morning, lines are in. About 15 minutes into the fishing day, my buddy looks at me, the owner of the boat, Brent St. James, old high school quarterback of mine, said, "Hey, man, if we catch the big fish, I want you in the fighting chair today." And so I was like, all right, let's go. Game on.
Yeah.
So about 20 minutes later, 700-pound blue marlin comes up and eats our lure. It's the biggest fish I've ever seen. 700 pounds. This thing's a monster. It's like
A
14 feet
tank.
long.
Holy
Just
cow.
comes out looking like a submarine. Eats the lure. I hop in the fighting chair, fight it for 2 hours. We get it right to the back of the boat where we're about to put the big hooks in it, to bring it in. And you got a main line and then you have a leader. And you got 30 feet of leader, which the mates are allowed to touch. And so what they do is they put a big wrap on that leader to bring the fish in, but they can't touch the other line. So that line's going right there in and out where the mate can touch it. He can barely get his fingers on it. And he just needs about 6 more inches to take a wrap, and that thing was over. And then this happens for about 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden the main line just breaks
Ah.
right at the boat.
Oh.
And it comes back and kisses me in the face.
Oh,
It would have been the richest fish ever caught on the planet right there. I mean, and just the story it could have done too. I mean, that's what I was thinking during the whole battle, fighting. I was thinking about my daughters. I was thinking about what this could do for other cancer survivors,
yeah.
just the story. Cause I mean, I was sitting in the chemo chair 5 days earlier. And then, next thing I'm fighting a 700-pound blue marlin on the back of a boat for a couple hours.
You got to
So I was
do
just,
that though. That's
I know
incredible.
that was the thing too. And,
Man.
like you're saying, I've been through a lot of adversity the past couple
Yeah.
of years. Losing that fish was one of them, without a doubt. Just kind of being like, why did that just happen? And I've thought about it. It's like, would I rather have not had that experience, you know, or would I rather have had the fish, and go through that whole thing and, just the way it kind of played out. So, um, it's tough, losing that opportunity right there, just kind of everything it could have done, just for other cancer survivors in that story it could have helped them with. But, it's just part of life. And
The story
yeah, I'm going.
itself, though, the story itself, I mean, you're challenging yourself. It sounds like, I mean, all the time. You're just going out and you're defying the odds. You're going out, you get dropped off in the bush for 10 days. Like I know there's a lot of people that do that, but there's more people that don't do that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And you're going up against some incredible animals, putting yourself out there. You're going out in the deep blue sea and you're catching these amazing fish. And I mean, just that story in itself, you're in the chair, you're fighting this 700-pound beast, that the halibut, the size of a barn door in Alaska. Like, you're fighting that, you're constantly fighting and fighting, and you're coming out with that smile on your face, man. And it's just awesome. It really is cool to kind of relate how you're approaching these adversities and times you've been knocked down. You're going in all the time. That's what you're definitely doing. It's
Yeah,
cool.
it's
Yeah.
thank you. I really appreciate that. And we only get one life.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, usually it takes something, tragic to make us really understand that.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to help people understand that before something tragic happens, like
Yeah.
what happened to me, to get out
Yeah.
there and, start chasing your dreams now,
Yeah.
get busy living, and nature is a big healing for me as well,
Yeah.
whether it's, just sitting out in the woods watching the sunrise, or sunrise out on the water, just that whole experience, with your friends, being out there and just trying something new. And I'm not gonna lie, I got my bad days, I got my rough days.
Yeah.
The chemo knocks you down. I
Yeah.
got it every 21 days, so usually it's day 3 through 7 or 8 after that where I really kind of feel the effects, and then I got about 10 good days in there, and then you're back on that cycle again.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and just got to keep going. And
Yeah. You just keep going. I think about, you know, it's funny. There's a story, you brought something up. I went fishing on the Atlantic, off the coast of Florida. I think we were in like West Palm Beach. I was scouting at the time with the Rockies, I believe, and doing pro coverage out there. And John Cedarberg, which is the Florida State scouter, he was. I don't know if he's still scouting or not, but he had a couple friends, right, that are going to take us out on this boat, and we're going to go deep sea fishing way off the coast. Well, I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, I've only fished like deep sea on the Pacific off the coast of California, and it's like a 30-man, 40-man boat, and you
right.
go out around Catalina or something.
Oh yeah.
And it's a ton of fun, and you're around like 30, 40 guys in this thing. Well, this thing had like four of us, and it was the size of my truck, right? This boat. And I'm like, okay, where's the rest of the boat? Number one. And what are we doing? What if we catch a fish? Like, there's nowhere to put this fish on this boat. But we go out, it was dark. We go so far out where we can't even see land anymore. I can't see lights. So I'm like, okay, this is kind of freaky. And finally, like, they know where they're going. So I don't even know. We're like 10 miles out or however far we're out. Get to this buoy and they're getting all the little fish so we can go bigger fishing. So we go out even further. The first line we drop in, all of a sudden now there's all these sharks swimming around the boat. And it's two kids, mind you. Now John's buddy couldn't make it, so he sent his son and his son's friend. So I have like two 17-year-old kids manning this little dingy boat, and John and I are big dudes like you. And I'm like, John, you just stay on one side and I'll stay on the other because his boat's like rocking, right? And here we are, we're like, we got sharks in the water, and these kids are like, oh, that sucks. And John, he's like you, he's a big fisherman, and well, yeah, I don't know if he's like you, but he's definitely, he knows his fish. And so he's like, oh, we need to go because you can't pull up a fish, the sharks will get it
Yeah.
and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm not really caring about the fish right now, John. I'm caring about, like, what happens if this boat sinks? What if I slip and I fall in the water and I'm going to get eaten alive? And so now I take that story though with a different mentality of it. Like, I want to go out and go fishing again because experiencing the trauma that I went through and now seeing life in a whole different perspective, that moment of challenge and adversity there, yes, it's very dangerous, but it's nothing like what I went through. And I'm wondering what my outlook on that moment would have been like if I had experienced and been knocked down prior to going out on that boat. You
Right.
know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
sounds like all these things that you're doing right now, you've already experienced that end life peace, that moment of silence that broke you for that instant, and you've already been able to rise. You've already been able to like lift yourself up, and then say, okay, let's go. I'm going forward. And so all these things that you're challenging yourself with now, they're like, let's go. I'm just, it's another adventure. Like, what else can I put in my back pocket? And I think it's just really inspirational. I was just thinking about that story as you were talking about your fish, because I wonder what I would be like now going out on that and embracing that moment of just being out in that silence in the water and experiencing that. Like, I'd like to almost redo that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So,
Well, hopefully one day we can go fishing sometime,
oh,
experience
that would
that
be
together.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. I would love to take you out without a doubt.
yeah. I would have jumped in the water for you and pushed up that damn 700 fish.
Well,
Let's
that's
go. Scare it
well,
into the boat.
that's one of my favorite things though that I do kind of with my
Yeah.
career too is I love being in the water with the
Wow.
fish. So a lot of the
Wow.
times when we have a blue marlin on or a sailfish or a swordfish on, that's the time where I go in the water and swim with them and stuff. So
Are you serious?
yeah, I do a
Wow.
lot. I like the underwater photography, and that's kind of one of my peaceful places too.
Okay.
Growing up a swimmer and water polo player and stuff, the water's always been,
Yeah.
very one of my sanctuaries. And just
Yeah.
jumping in those with those fish, and once your ears go under the water, the rest of the world goes silent. It's just you and that fish in there. Nothing else really matters.
Amazing.
Just those kind of experiences. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to help others, chase their dreams, whatever they may be. Just stay positive. Um, I mean, we all get knocked down
Yeah.
many times in life,
Yeah.
and as we get older, it doesn't seem like it gets any easier, without a doubt. So, and
How do people find you? How do people what's your outreach on or your inreach? I mean, in terms of like people hearing your story more, want you to come out and talk with them. Do you have an outsource right now, like an outlet that people can come, a website or
yeah,
anything right now?
I share a lot of mine on Facebook and Instagram,
So follow you on
and then
social.
on social medias, yeah, is the best way.
Okay.
And it's Zac Yarbrough Outdoors, ZACYARBROUGH Outdoors, and on Facebook and Instagram, and it's just I like to post my daily stories, kind of what I'm
Yeah.
doing, where I'm traveling, what's going on, the good things, the bad things, when I'm sitting in that chemo chair,
Yeah.
Fighting. And then, yeah, so that's kind of, I'm thinking about getting into the YouTube, and these past 5 years, I've really documented my whole experience,
Yeah.
from the day one getting diagnosed to the surgeries, to the radiation, to the chemotherapies, to the amazing trips I've been on, Alaska, Colorado, Costa Rica, Mexico. I mean, all over the place. So
Adventures with
just,
Zac.
yeah, I mean, it's time to get busy living,
That's
life is
what it
good.
is, right? Yeah.
Life is good. So, I
Life is
mean,
good.
there's always tough, rough, hard days and stuff, but as long as we're here, I truly believe there really are no bad days.
Wow.
So,
Well, you have a new follower. I mean, we're going to do what we can too to just spread your love and your just outlook on life. Again, man, it's infectious, and I love what you're doing. Somebody mentioned this to me, like you become family of through trauma, right?
mhm,
And I think that's kind of what we need more in our world is we've all dealt with trauma and things have knocked us down. And that moment we've decided to go back in for ourselves, stand back up and walk tall. It's not easy. It comes with a lot of support like you had. It comes with a positive outlook on life like you have. It's the strength that you have. It's the challenge and just wanting to persevere every single day and the resilience factor of it, right? And to take a step back and to be truly happy with yourself and to no matter where you're at, no matter what's going on and the noise and everything else around you, you have to be happy inside.
yeah,
And once you do that, once you find that inner peace, like you're talking about once you go under that water and everything
mhm,
goes silent and it's you and the fish, it's you and life, it's you and your kids, it's you and your whatever that is that you're with, you've made it. You've made it. And now it's just how do you replicate that every day and keep
right.
fighting. So we will follow you on social. Can't wait to like shake your hand one day. And I would love to go fishing with you or wherever you're going. I would love to like get in there and maybe, I don't know, try to go pet a wolf or something one day or
Hey,
yeah,
I'm down for anything new, without a doubt, 100%.
yeah,
And
yeah,
no, I appreciate
yeah.
everything you're doing, and the positive energy you're bringing and sharing, and the outlook
Thanks.
on life. I think that's huge, and we need more of that in life. More people like you. Um,
Mm,
just sharing our stories.
that's right.
And it's okay to be vulnerable.
That's
It's
right.
we're not all perfect.
Mm-mm.
It's a lot of too, with social media these days, everybody's trying to be this perfect life and all that kind of stuff, and it's just when you really sit back and realize that we're not, and we're all going to be faced with tough times and rough days and adversity, and it's just if we can be there together and support each other in those situations, I mean, this world will be a better place.
That's right. Amen to that. Yes, sir. So, Zac, thank you for being on. I'm going in. Man, just keep doing what you're doing. You're an inspiration. Keep walking tall for yourself and keep hunting those fish. You're gonna catch that marlin one day.
I know. I'm
And
like, man, that had to happen for some sort of reason,
yeah,
without a doubt. But it was
well,
the
it's a
day I'll never
story.
forget. So,
It's a
yeah,
story. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you being on the
Todd,
show.
thank you very much, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I'm Going In would like to thank our sponsors, Ace Branding and Ferret Flush. Ferret Flush is a laugh-a-lot, easy-to-play, family-friendly card game for creatures who like to dig a little deeper. Players explore interplay between thoughts, feelings, and actions, and if you're looking for a great family-friendly game to just play with your kids or just adults or neighbors, this game was developed by a family friend of ours, and it's really, really fun. So I encourage you to get out, go purchase Ferret Flush, and have a great time. And Ace Branding is a PR firm that's helping thought leaders, entrepreneurs, businesses, podcasters like myself and more just enhance their presence online and helping them succeed. So thank you to Ace Branding, and thank you, Ferret Flush. Appreciate it. We're going in.